presenter today is Carol Dodge Grochowski, local photographer and owner of Dodge Photography Art. Grew up on the shores of East Long Lake and became acquainted with Rockport by exploring with her friends on a bike. In 2008, as an advocate for horseback riding, she joined NRTH, the DNR Citizens-Based Advisory Committee, to develop plans for Megalodon, Rockport, Thompson Harbor State Park. In March 2012, she was elected president of the newly formed Friends of Rockport, Besser Natural Area, and has served in that capacity ever since. So, welcome, Carol.
So nice to see you all here. Our first day of sunshine in over a week, so it's, I'm just a little more anxious to get out a little bit. I was worried we were going to have a snowstorm or something, but here we are. Rockport State Recreation Area. How this came to be was, as Ron mentioned earlier, I think about 2004 or so. We got together a group of advisory people to put together a management plan for these three properties: Megalodon, Rockport, and Thompson Harbor. Now, how the DNR wound up with Rockport is a story. Consumers Energy back in 1997 got in some trouble over across state. And as part of the settlement, the DNR got the Rockport property. And what a treasure that's been. At first it went into the forestry division, and their big main priority is timber management. Well, there's not a lot of really great timber out there, so they just kind of sat on it. And then about 2006, the DNR kind of looked at this property again and said, this might be a better fit for Parks and Recreation. So then they started the ball rolling to get that transferred over to Parks and Recreation. So even before that came into Parks and Recreation, we were all sitting down and figuring out, okay, what can we do with this property? What are the current uses for it? How can we fit this into Parks and Recreation? What should we do with this? So they came up with a management plan. You can go online on the DNR website and look up park management plans and see what the plan is for Rockport. And it pretty much outlines what things they plan on doing there in the future. Out of the three parks, Megalodon, Rockport, and Thompson Harbor, Megalodon and Thompson Harbor are pretty much going to remain as they are, as natural areas. They've got a lot of real sensitive lands there, so they're pretty much going to sit the way they are. Rockport, on the other hand, has a lot of potential. First of all, it's pretty, I don't know if you can do too much more to it to beat up on it, but with the quarry operation there, it did a couple things. There's not anything you would really call, other than Besser Natural Area, anything that looks like it should be a natural area without, that you can't do something with. So plans for the park are going to include probably camping, kind of a visitor center that will be a satellite for the three parks, trails, signage, interpretive. And the interpretive, you'll see why as I kind of get into this a little bit. So in 2011, they finally got all the paperwork done and declared that as a Parks and Recreation property. There was still a little bit of controversy. There's a couple things that you can do with Parks and Rec property. You can call it a state park, or you can call it a recreation area. If it's a state park, you can't hunt there. And that has long been a place where people have hunted and trapped and such. So rather than get the whole community in an uproar, we decided to go with parks and, with a recreation area, because that's what it is. I mean, of all the parks probably in the state, Rockport has a potential to have a lot of recreation opportunities. You can go biking, hiking, fossil hunting, check out the sinkholes, you can go snorkeling on shipwrecks. I mean, that's definitely what you would call a recreation area. Oh, throw fishing in there too. But it's a really great piece of property. It is 4,237 acres, in case you're interested in that. And just a real neat place. So the reason we're here today is kind of bring you to give you a different aspect, because on the surface those are the things you see. The recreation opportunities are the things you see. But knowing the past of this property is just as interesting as what exists there now. And so we're going to kind of go through some of the history. This, of course, if you go out to Rockport at the harbor, you climb up that big gravel pile, this is the view that you get. And I'm going to point out a couple things before we get off this slide, because in the future they're going to account for something here. Okay, just past the pier you see a little inlet. You see a little fishing boat sitting there. Originally that little inlet wasn't there. That's where the caissons for the Mackinac Bridge got let out into the big lake. That's a story in itself. We'll get to that. So remember that. I think the one thing that is probably most concerned to all the Friends group is the condition of that pier. This is the reason that people go out there. You know, they swim off it, they dive off it, they fish off it. And boy, on a beautiful starry night, to get out on that pier and just feel like you're out in the middle of the water with the waves slapping the shore and watching this beautiful sky. There isn't a better place to be. So one of the things that we're really concerned of is that the condition of that pier is really deteriorating. I just received probably a couple weeks ago a picture that was taken in 1974. And at that time you could actually drive a vehicle out on that pier. That's how wide it was there. Now with just the natural erosion, and then with people climbing up and down it, you know, swimming and diving and stuff, it's really pulling the sides off the parts that were originally protected with the cement and the pilings. So very much a real concern, because I'll tell you what, when we talked, the DNR originally talked about this not being safe, and they wanted to gate it off. Oh my goodness. Then it hit the fan. What do you mean? We've been jumping off that pier in our family for 100 years, you know. So not a popular position to take for the DNR. So I've kind of, and they're being really funny about this, because this is a bureaucracy. And to do anything at all, it has to be done all the way, because if they do it part way and still opens it up to dangerous parts there or something like that, and they've made an effort but not a complete effort, if something would happen because they put a walkway out onto that pier, then all of a sudden they're liable for whatever happens there. So they were very reluctant to do it. Now it's kind of at your own risk. Once they do anything, it puts the state at liability, and they're not really anxious to get into this. Pier restorations, they're running into a whole bunch of money. They're talking millions. So we just got to keep pushing and finding those grants and those sorts of things that hopefully we can get that, you know, and salvage it before it gets to the point where people can't even use it anymore. So anyway, back to the history. Okay, let's see here. Okay, this guy I put here, I want to mention this, because when I first got into the history of this, the thing that was really missing was the Native Americans. I just couldn't find anything about them being there. We knew they were there because we were finding, they were finding arrowheads and different things that indicated they were there. They were known to be all along the coast of Lake Huron, but because of several factors. One is they didn't have a written language, so they didn't record who was there or where. And another thing was that they were very nomadic. They kind of went place to place depending on the fishing or the hunting or where the best berries were at a certain time of year. They traveled quite a bit. So they didn't have a place that was, this is where we are, and this is where you'll always find us. They traveled a lot. And then if they got scuffling with somebody, a group of Native Americans that decided they wanted their little place, then the spoils went to the winner, and the other people had to move on. So it was very nomadic. And that kind of played into this too. So I think part of it was, then another factor that comes into this, that until 1924, the Native Americans were not U.S. citizens. So that when census were taken, I don't know that they were even recorded as being there because they weren't citizens of the United States. When Fulton started traveling this property, he knew a lot of the Native Americans that lived there. But you just don't hear too much about them. So anyway, that's kind of so this is the only picture, and Bob Halkiner found this. This is the only picture we have of any Indian that was, very much associated with this land. And he's more Mankato is where he was from. But there was, Michicubus was closer to Alpena. There was another group out at Hubbard Lake. They were kind of very loosely organized, very democratic. They were more democratic than the United States because the women had as much say as the men as, what their plans were going to be, where they were going to go, what they were going to do. Everybody had equal say in this. And even though they had a leader, if they decided that he wasn't doing his job, he was out. So they were the leaders, the chiefs were there, because the people respected them enough for them to be there. They didn't come in and take over and run the show. It was very democratic. The village of Bell, people kind of started getting into that area. There was one of the things that really started the development that was the Presti Brick and Lumber Company. And this town kind of grew around that. Now, William French was the one that kind of had that. He was kind of the big baron of Bell. He had the brick kiln, he had sawmill, he had a lumbering operation, he had a cannery. He just had his hooks in a lot of different things there. And Bell itself at that time, around the 1800s, there was a population, according to the census, of about 100 people. They had two sawmills. One was French's and the other one was owned by a family named Riblett. And Riblets were also into construction. There was a boarding house, a supply store, a school, a post office, a saloon/boarding house, blacksmith shop, and dwellings. So a lot of the people there that lived there, worked there, were mostly into either lumbering or fishing. Okay, another thing, not as silent as the Native Americans, but Bell was really hard. Not a lot of pictures we've not been able to find a lot of pictures of Bell or the residents, but we do have a few. And one of them is Jean Charbonneau. Okay, he was born in Quebec. He moved to Bell with his wife. And the property he settled there was, he homesteaded 120 acres there. That was land that the Native Americans had been on. And he appropriated a bark log house that they had built and left behind. Did they really leave it behind? Or did he kick them out? That's one of the things they wonder about. But anyway, he wound up taking over this bark log house. And as a young man, he worked for the government, and he delivered mail from Detroit to Sault Ste. Marie. He died at the age of 103, and he is buried in the Bell Cemetery there. Chris Sorrell, I don't know much about, but Rabbitaw is a name that comes up quite frequently there. Both the Charbonnaws and the Rabbitaws have families that live in this area to this day. In fact, John Rabbitaw lives in a home on Grand Lake Road that was built, I don't know if his great-grandfather had it or something, but it's been in the family forever. This, I think, would be his great or his great-great-grandfather. So, a lot of family history, and this is a picture that he had given me. This is Henry's favorite chair, because I also have another photograph with him. Different clothes, different place, but he's sitting in that chair. He really liked that chair. He was a lumberman, and he also fished. And he lived on Falls Presti. So when you go out to Bell, and there's Bell Bay, and then you see a little channel that runs off to the north. And that used to be an island there that they called Falls Presti. And he was one of the people that lived on it. Another one is the family Alexanders, and they had like about 5 generations on that property also. And Lynn Morrison comes from that line, and he still lives there. So we've got some people out there that have been there forever. And that's kind of how I kind of got interested in all this history. I don't know if anybody's ever been out on a tour with Lynn Morrison out at Bell. Yeah, I see somebody pretty interesting, isn't it? So that kind of got me hooked on trying to find out more about this too. So I got to thank him for that. This is an interesting picture. Judy Kimball, who has also been a big help to me, because we've been back and forth on this picture. This I got through Bob Paulatiner's books. And Judy has gone down to this Clark Historical Library and copied pictures of Bell from there. And actually in the translation we lost Henry. Henry's not actually in the window. Henry, if you see that little white mark, was standing right off to Henry Olds' left. So you could just barely see him in here. But in the picture she has, he shows up. So anyway, so we were talking about, Judy, I've got that same picture, but Henry's not in that. So anyway, I've got to get Judy's picture, because that's the one that it should be. So let's fix that one up. But that would have been one of the houses that was out there, back in the late 1800s. Well, this one is 1910s, but that would be some place that they would have lived out there. Henry Bolton. He's a big deal in Alpena history. He was born in Ireland in 1843, arrived in Alpena in 1864, and for 2 years he worked in the woods in the mills. And then he happened to be hanging out in Detroit for a while, and he met Donald McRae in Detroit. And they became really close friends. And McRae, that's another name everybody hears in Alpena, Bolton and McRae. McRae moved to Alpena in 1866, and Bolton and he opened a grocery and liquor store on a little block on the north side, Dock Street, on the north side of town. They were very successful. I think their first year in this little store, they grossed like $100,000, which was huge money in those days. The fire of 1871 destroyed that store, so they really built on that same site. And they built a 3-story brick building on that site. 2/3 of it was general merchandise, and they also sold cedar posts and ties and poles and that sort of thing. And they owned large tracts of pine lands. So now Henry Bolton was a big outdoorsman. He loved fishing and hunting. And before there was roads back in that Bell area, that was kind of his stomping ground. He'd get on the little Indian trails out there and he'd go out there hunting. He knew a lot of the Native Americans in that area and had really good relationships with them. But he really loved that Bell area. So when things started going there, he built his summer home there. It's called the Pines. He entertained a lot of guests there. He entertained a Marquis and Marchesa from Europe, and I didn't recognize the name, so I'm not remembering it. But that'll be another project for me to Google and find out who these people were. But it was a big deal for them to have somebody of that caliber, come to Alpena for a visit. So lots of really good friends. Even after they retired in 1899, he and McCrae remained really good friends, and they spent a lot of time out at Bell. Okay, this is a French home. Now this is I wish would have a great picture from when it was, in its prime, but this is the only thing, and I'm just amazed that we were able to find this. French, like I told you, had a brick kiln. So all the brick that was made there the brick kiln was there because of this supply of clay that was right there. So all they had to do was go out the back door, scoop up this clay, and make the bricks. So all the bricks for this home, of course, were made right pretty much on the property or nearby. This was a beautiful home at one time. There was a lot of really beautiful woodwork in it. There was a grand staircase that led from the first floor up to William's offices. He liked being up on top there because he could kind of survey, what was going on in the docks and, just his business concerns. He could kind of keep an eye from his crow's nest up there. At the top of this really sweeping, neat staircase was a mural on the wall with the coastline of northeastern Michigan and all the little towns and camps and things along the way that were there. Really neat piece of property.
Is the mural still there, or is it all?
Do you want to hear the sad thing? I'll get to the sad thing, but just remember that. So that was one of the things that went on. I'll get back to that, but logging, of course, was very big there, and then a lot of shipping was done in the little Bell Bay there. There was 2 big piers there, and then all of the things that they did there, the logging, the wood, that all went by schooner. Produce, the agriculture products and stuff that people would, apples and whatever, corn, whatever, would all get shipped out of there on these schooners. So they had a real that's a bustling little place there. They had a lot going on. But the little area around here is not called Shipwreck Alley for no good reason. And because of just the topography of what was there, the storms that could come up, of course we had a lot of shipwrecks. This one, the Portland, actually wound up wrecking right off the coast of Besser Natural Area. About 400 feet off. If you're taking, everybody been back on the trail or not? Well, if you take the trail along the lake and you go to where the lagoon is, a little bit past that, if you go out in the lake, or even look out there, you'll see a buoy out there. And that's where the wreck of the Portland is. It is so easy to just get out there and kayak over the top of it. A lot of people snorkel it. You know, it's probably one of the most available shipwrecks that we have in the lake. Very easy to access. Why this one's important. Okay, because of all these problems with shipping and stuff, in 1871, they created the United States Life-Saving Service. And it was kind of set up for all waters where they were doing shipping. On the Great Lakes, the first stations were built in 1875. And there was 3 different categories. There was a life-saving station, a lifeboat station, and houses of refuge. Most of the stations on the Great Lakes were lifeboat stations, but there was a few life-saving stations in remote locations, and Middle Island was one of them. So, and the reason I bring this up, Middle Island, is because actually Rockport State Recreation Area incorporates about half that island. This building is still kind of sort of there, but it's falling down pretty quickly. Marv Twite, that owns the rest of the island, had an interest in restoring it or at least saving it, but the DNR is just really funny about stuff like that. You know, everything's got to go through bureaucracy, and you know, it's just, they just weren't going to cooperate with this, so it's kind of falling into ruins. So anyway, that's what it was, and kind of a very sad situation. So keeping that, I said, we have deer and our people here, we could get in trouble. Keeping that in mind, what kind of happened with Bell, that's coming up yet. I want to get to this too. One of the things that has always been a mystery for us that have been out there is the chimney. Anybody seen the chimney? Okay. If you go back and you walk that trail back in there, and you're back on Bell Bay, in a little bit you'll see a trail, and when you come in on that trail you see this chimney of a fireplace there. And we've always kind of wondered, what was that connected to? Because there was a boarding house saloon there. We thought, well, maybe that was it. And then recently we came on some pictures. And we went, aha, that's what that is. So let's go. Okay, Camp Carefree for Girls. This is what this was. It was a girls' camp that was built on our side of the state. The Swains, Mr. and Mrs. Swain, were kind of tied to Michigan University. And they decided that they were going to put a camp and take these girls out of the city and give them a wilderness experience. And boy, was that a wilderness experience. They had instruction, the staff came from the University of Michigan, instructive, and they studied dancing, swimming, canoeing. They made trips to the nearby, they'd hop in a boat and go check out Rockport or so it was really quite an experience. Judy Kimball and John Porter ran into this information probably about a year ago, and it was like Christmas. Swain's daughter had all this stuff from this camp. There's a big pile of papers, and it's the journals of the girls that stayed there. And what they did, and they drew little cartoons of their activities, and it was just the neatest thing to find. And the Swain was an avid photographer. He did a lot of photography for the University of Michigan, and he had thousands of pictures that he had taken in that area. So all of a sudden, Judy and John had this treasure trove of photographs just from this camp. It was so exciting to get this stuff. Okay, the road in. This starts giving you a clue. This is definitely gonna be a wilderness experience. Okay, this is construction of the camp. There was kind of a main lodge that they had built. There's the fireplace. Now we're looking at these, and now that I know what this is all about, I've got these a little bit out of order. When they first built this, the fireplace was not there. You can't see it there. But I would bet you that when these people got up north here and got these nice little chilly nights and stuff, and these girls were out sleeping in tents and something like that, I think they decided that maybe a fireplace would really be a good idea. So on the really cool nights, they could get inside and bunk out or whatever. And there's the tents they stayed in. So it was definitely a wilderness experience. And there's some of the girls, a hardy crew. In uniform. Yeah. But this is now, where that Camp Carefree sign is in the back, that's where the fireplace wound up going in later. These pictures were taken before that happened. Piano. And these are the counselors. And back in the middle there is Mrs. Swain. So that was life at camp. Okay, so back in about the mid-60s, and I don't know what transpired in between. There's so much history of this property, I just can't, my head wants to explode. But back in the 60s, this property, that Besser Natural Area is on now, came up for an auction. And there was 3 people bidding on it. Jesse Besser, Lynn Morrison's grandpa, and another guy from Alpena. And Lynn's grandpa and the guy from other guy from Alpena were mostly interested in logging it. But there had been, over time, the stand of white pines that had been intentionally left alone. With all the logging that was going on here, this one stand of these white pines had been left. So Jesse fought pretty hard. He got that property, thank goodness. And he then turned it over to the DNR to become, a natural area and under the state's custody. The people that lived in the area at the time were so excited that somebody had taken it that was interested in preserving it. Their idea of what they wanted to see was kind of a ghost town like Fayetta's up in the Upper Peninsula. The Bolton House, the French House, and several of the residents and stuff were there. The camp is probably still there also. Those were still there and intact, and they were there. That's what they were envisioning. But DNR Forestry got a hold of it, and their interest is primarily timber management. They didn't want anything that they had to maintain or watch over or anything like that. So they gave the residents notice that, if there's anything you want out of these houses, come and get it, because in a week we're tearing it all down. So that's pretty much what happened. Lynn and his brothers absconded with this really cool bench of Bolton home that was, I don't know if it was carved out of one piece of wood, but anyway, the back of it had a woman's face carved in it, and her tresses kind of wrapped around the arms and down to the floor on any side. It was a really cool bench. It took 3 boys wrestling it down into a boat and floating it over to their mom's house. From there it went to Bob Quinn, who was an art teacher, and from there it went to Bruce Doherty up in Rogers City, who was in the furniture business. And we've kind of lost track of it, but boy, that'd be a really neat piece to get a hold of. So anyway, that's what happened, and it made me very sad to hear that. So, Rockport Quarry, that in 1914, let me get that here. This is 1960. Okay, the Great Lakes Line Company first had this in 1914. That's when it started. And they had about 200 people working there. The guy that owned it was a big railroad mogul. You know, he had a lot of interest. He was like a multi-millionaire. And one of the things that they decided to do is put this limestone quarry at Rockport. So they got that going, and then in these are some of the early, okay, now Kelly Lime and Transport. This is where this gets a little bit confusing to me. Because Kelly Lime and Transport bought Kelly Lime and Transport was out of Marblehead, Ohio. And they bought it, and I think then they upgraded it. And they put the rock crusher, and they got a lot of state-of-the-art quarrying equipment in there. This was I think this was the boarding houses there, but now I'm seeing it might have been a hotel. And that's a possibility too, because they had a lot of people coming up from Ohio, you know, the big bosses and stuff, and this might be where they would stay, but it's either a boarding house or it's that. This was kind of a company town. So people that worked there also lived there, a lot of them. And they had probably 10 to 20 families that lived right on the property. And then a number of guys that would commute from Alpena. They would go into town on the weekends, jump on the train, come out, work all week, jump on the train, go back for the weekend. So they had the boarding house, and they had several just really crazy shit there. It looks like they'd be big enough to put a bed in, and that would be about it. But so they had a lot of people living out there at times. And this would be another one. These two cabins would be more of a family dwelling where families might live. So it looks like a little nicer one. You can see the rock crusher in the background. This was a conveyor tunnel that they built. And what they would do with this is they would load, let me go back one. These chutes that are in there, they ran the train tracks right alongside this. The train cars you'll see later too were kind of dump cars. They weren't the ones that we usually think of. And they kind of would split off, and it would just dump the gravel down into this. They'd open the chutes. There's a conveyor that ran to it. Ran that up a scaffold, out to the rock pile, and from the rock pile it went out onto the crusher that was on the pier and got loaded onto the boats. It's kind of a quarry view, must have been up on the top of one of those steam shovels. Everything was run on coal and steam, all the locomotives and everything that were out there. One of the steam shovels that was out there. And you know, I think they had those up in calcite for a long time, but they were still running those old ones, because I think my grandpa ran one. But those are the cars, you'll see one was a little bit better. They had, I'm seeing probably about 8 locomotives out there. One of them still is this over in Wisconsin somewhere. Bill Gregg ran into information on it not too long ago. Sometimes it got wet in there. That's one of those dump cars. You can see how it's kind of hinged. Remember the hand cars from the old silent movies? and the rail crew. Those are the towers that had the water in, that they would have to put the water in the engines to make the steam. This, I would guess, is E.P. Smith. He was kind of the supervisor out there. And he also wound up with a residence out on Bell. Famous rock pile. Train's stopping off with the crusher there. Okay, now these boats, like I said, this is 1940, so these were probably not the original boats that came into that harbor. But when we first got into the history of this, we were seeing a lot of pictures of the buildings, and actually the Kelly Line Company, for insurance purposes, had documented and taken pictures of all the buildings that were on the property, and have a layout of where they were positioned on the property, and that's up at the library right now, if you ever want to see that. There's a ton of pictures from Rockport from that time. But there was nothing there of the ships, the trains, the steam shovels, people. These were just all pictures of buildings. And so that was one thing that's really bugging me. I wanted to know what those boats looked like, what was in there. And Dan Gilmet joined our friends group, and his dad worked out there. And his dad, now who does this? Who has an album of the place that you work? Harold Gilmet had this big album, and it documented all day-to-day, so every picture that we have of the steam shovels and the boats and everything comes out of his albums. They had company parties. We got pictures of company parties and company hunting outings and all kinds of stuff out of his albums. That was neat. I'm just recently hearing somebody else has another album from there, so we might find out some other interesting stuff yet too. Okay, this is loading. This is that rock crusher loading the boats and the chutes. He said that was a big advance, having that, being able to load like that. That's one of the tugs, of course, that would take it out. And also during the 50s, at this time you can kind of tell that the quarry operation has ceased out there. Stacks are no longer on the powerhouse building. And if you would have gone around on that property at that time, everything that was metal, all the scaffolding, the sheet metal, everything was gone. Fivenson, they were metal reclaimers out here, Fivensons. And they came in and tore everything down and recycled all that metal. There are remnants here and there if you know where to look for it. But during that time, there's a commercial fishing fleet out there. And if anybody knows Tuppy Cross, he was one of the guys out there that worked out of Rockport. And when we came up with these pictures, he's like, see if you got Catherine V there. See if you got Catherine V. I haven't seen Catherine V, sorry. But, they were a group that still fished out of there after the quarry operation ceased. And it took a while. Actually, they stopped quarrying at Rockport in about 1932 because they found better stone at Stoneport. But they had this really great rock crusher and everything, so for a long time what they did, there's a railroad grade that runs between Stoneport and Rockport, and they would load the stone up at Stoneport, truck it up to Rockport and process it and ship it out of there. Eventually, as the equipment became more antiquated, the folks from Marblehead kind of lost interest and moved up. Stoneport was still there. They built their own, processing facilities and shipping, and then this place really kind of closed down for good in about 1948. But we weren't done yet. Shortly after that, so this property is just kind of sitting there. It's a really great deep water port. So, the Wiltsey brothers, they were kind of from the Bay City area. And they'd been building actually since 1900. They had a kind of a metal shop or something, and they were primarily constructed boat hoists and such. And they sold those all over the United States. They were approached by Wyandotte Chemical, who had a bunch of ships on the big lakes, to see if they would come in and do the winter work on their boats. This was a perfect place for it. Nice deep water port. You still had the powerhouse building there that you could work on during the winter, heat it up and run your equipment out of there. So it was a perfect spot. So the Wiltsey brothers moved to Alpena and started working on boats in the winters. In 1954, they were contracted by Merritt, Chapman and Scott, who were subcontracted to American Bridge, who was subcontracted to U.S. Steel to build the caissons for the Mackinac Bridge. This is going to be a really perfect place. This is a deep water port. We can get these things out of here. That's what we're going to do. And Blake Gingrich, who's our supervisor, actually ran into Bruce Wiltsey down at the harbor when he was bringing his boat in from fishing. And he had this chat with him, and he said something about, the caissons from Mackinac Bridge were made here. And this guy starts getting tears in his eyes. It's going like, what? And he says, my dad and uncle built those. And, Blake's like, what? He says, this Bruce Wiltsey was 14 years old at the time. And he was kind of the runner for everybody. If they wanted drinks or candy or refreshments and stuff, that's what he did between hunting rabbits and things. So he was out on the property the whole time, and he had a whole collection of pictures that were taken during that process. This is one you won't find anywhere else. The pieces for the caissons came from a foundry down in Indiana. They were shipped up to Rockport. I'm not sure if they came by train or barge or whatever. That I've not been able to figure out. So this was their job. Okay, and you kind of note this construction. This is just such a really unique way. I just would never have guessed this. So you see this wedge here. The whole construction had like this open donut shape to it, with the wedge on the bottom. And see how that bottom wedge is. And then they would stack, I think there were like 10-foot sections that would go on top of that, and they just kept welding it till I think they were at about 35 feet or so. Then came the problem. They just built these things on land and figured they were just gonna shove them out in the water and that would be that. This is Rockport. You aren't gonna just dig a hole around these things and get them out there. So this is one of the things they resorted to. It was kind of a rock chopper or whatever, kind of break up the rock, but that even wasn't enough. So they had to resort to dynamite. And I think one of the first charges, and this might be, it looks awfully darn close, one of the first charges blew a hole in the caisson, and so they had to tear it apart and replace it. What a mess. But after much dynamite, and work with the cranes to dredge that area out. So this is where that little inlet came in that I showed you earlier. That wasn't there, that was there because of this. We finally got it down deep enough that they were able to float these things. That was another thing always was a mystery to me. How did they get these things up to Rockport? But because of that airspace in there, they floated. So they were just able to float them up. we go, heading out. Okay, so then they got them all the way up to where they wanted them, got them seated in there. And then what they started doing is dropping rock into that channel that they had built, and it was slowly sinking this into the ground. Then when it hit the bottom, they pumped everything out of the middle of it, and it kind of created sort of a vacuum. And anyway, with the weight of this rock and this open middle then, it kind of drove that right into the base of the lake. So that's how that's grounded in there. Then that was also, the whole center then would have been filled with aggregate and cement. And that was the beginning of it. Okay. There we're here. And I kind of told you how we acquired this property. Here's our little spot. And actually the Chippewa tribe still fishes out of here. And the boats that you see parked in there at different times are Chippewa boats. We still fish out of there. Hey, some of the fun things we do at Rockport now. We have a lot of tours and opportunities out there to kind of visit the park and see what's out there. And one of our favorite guys is Bill Grigg. He's a great naturalist and bird watcher, and Besser Natural Area is really a good place to go out and hike and see these sorts of things. So he often takes them out and see some of the cool things. Snowy egret, great heron. And these are people, this is a 4-H camp. And they went snorkeling, guess where? Up over to Portland. And that you kind of get an idea, it's not very deep out there. And it depends on the water levels and such, but you know, you go out there on a calm day, early in the morning is really the best, and you've got just an amazing view of that shipwreck. Different kind of beaches. Sometimes it's cobblestone, sometimes it's sand, sometimes these great big rocks. This is Middle Island. The state land is on the north end of that.
Can you access Middle Island as for public, or is that private?
If you would go on the state side of it, you would not be in trouble. If you go on where Marv owns, you will get chewed out majorly if he catches you over there. So, yeah, he's a very interesting character. He gets a lot of volunteer help to work on these buildings and stuff, but there's not anybody there. So, you know, unless you're renting, because you can rent, you can stay overnight out there. It's pretty cool to do that. But if he ever gets to the point he wants to sell that, I think the state would jump on that pretty quick. But for right now, we've got the other end of it. Like I said, if you went in on that end, then you can get in there, because where the life-saving station is, there's a nice little lagoon in there, and you can get in there, I think. Around this island, there are a couple sinkholes, at least. And one of them is famous for how deep it is. And you can find it on YouTube. I think Noah went down there and filmed in there. When you get down there so deep where there is light and there's plant life and stuff there, you don't see anywhere else. There's no chlorophyll to it, it's all white. So you could actually get on YouTube and find that. So it's this place is just amazing. And I haven't even talked about the sinkholes yet. This is the fishing fleet. Is Florence here?
No.
This is Florence's picture, doing the thing that nobody's supposed to do at Rockport. That everybody loves to do. But anyhow, this came to the cover of this. And it was just, the DNR saw it. And we got really mixed reviews. Either horror or hilarity, you know? Because the first couple people that were in charge of us were pretty easygoing people. Now, some of the other ones aren't so much. They don't see the humor in this at all. promoting something that you shouldn't be using. But anyway, yeah, this is just, and you'll find generations of families that have gone, this is your rite of passage to go jump off the pier at Rockport. Aha! There's a lot of these guys out there. They like to swim in the water. And in the spring, when the water is cold and the rocks get warm, you can see an amazing amount of snakes warming themselves on the rocks. It would be a great place, Ian, to film for a horror movie. Because we went out there one spring, I think it was April or something, and we had our niece and her fiance from out in Montana. And we went down there, and I mean, it was like solid snakes.
Oh.
And we walked right down the middle, and they kind of scoot out of your way, we're just kind of walking through these snakes, and this other couple comes, and they're kind of scurrying down. Oh, what's going on there? And I said, oh, there's some snakes down here. And the gal goes, really? And she said, no, and the guy goes, oh, they're going down there. But, pretty harmless, but, they're there, they're water snakes, they're not gonna hurt you or anything, but, like I said, our conditions are right, you can see a whole lot of them. This is another example of the different shoreline. Now, part of this could be, because this is right off to the south of the harbor, and one of the reasons for this may be, when I was talking to Bruce Wiltz, he says one thing that happened, they were really concerned about these caissons and them being so close to the water, and if a storm blew up, that it would be bad. It could destroy their work or something. So they were really concerned about that. And so what they did is they got all the dump trucks in the county and started loading them with stone. And backing them out and dumping it, backing them out and dumping it, backing it up and dumping it. They got about, 100 yards or something on the lake. They were making a nice break wall out there. Big storm came up and it was gone. So when I see this sort of rock there, I kind of wonder if that's not some of that, It's very different. And of course, Rockport is a great place to fossil hunt, because that whole quarry is fossils. Paleo Joe comes up, and he was the guy that did this for us. And he's up out of the, I think, Kalamazoo area, somewhere down here. I don't know, 6-8 times a year. Brings people from all over the place up to fossil hunt in Rockport. And he claims it is one of the best places in the world to just go out and stumble on fossils everywhere. One of his really significant finds, he and Matt Block have also been very lucky out there and found what they call a fish plate. It's the skull of the fish. The cartilage and everything over the years has deteriorated, but these skulls are still there if you can find them. Paleo Joe was out there this past summer and happened to be walking along and something caught his eye. And he just lifted this rock, and here was this fish plate. He was a kid at Christmas. Get this out of here, photograph it. And I don't think it was, a lot of these are finding in pieces, so you have to kind of go back and see if you can pick them out. But he photographed it and sent it out to another geologist buddy of his out west. And he says, wow, he says, I don't know what you got, but I have not seen it before. He says, it's definitely a fish plate, but it's not anything that's been identified before. So he was just excited. So he was back out there on Trails Day, and we caught up with him in the parking lot there waiting for his tour to come in, and so I found some more. He said, well, tell me about this, and that's when he told me about it. And he was just, he said, I had to come up early just to see if I could find the rest of it. And he was pretty successful, so he was pretty happy about that. So there's our quarry. If you go across the top ridge of this quarry, you can still, there's still pipe down there where they can drop a charge and blow their face off it. They're wonderful fossils.
Wow.
And they are everywhere. Everywhere, everywhere. This is Chris Witulski, had a group out there from, I don't know if that was one of our, I think that was one of our recreation days. And a bunch of people came out and she took them out fossil hunting. There's a little bit of that scaffolding I told you. You know, you can find that over kind of behind it between the gravel piles still. Dwarf Lake Iris grows there, and that's kind of a real rare find. These lizards. Got their horseback riding, that's fun. Combine, biking. And this might be an all group, who knows?
Maybe a what?
All group. An all group.
Oh, all group, I'm sorry.
It's either that, is that you, Sue? Did you
Yeah,
go
sorry.
out with us?
Sue,
Sue, is that you in that light yellow sweater? Did you
Could
go back
be.
with me? Did you go back with me?
I did go back with you.
That's Sue. Right here. This is Sue. Doesn't that look like her?
I think so. Could be, could well be.
But anyway, this is such an amazing piece of property. You go through this place that looks like moonscape. You get back into a cedar swamp, cedar woods. Get across the power line, and you get into these beautiful hardwoods. There's a whole, this is kind of some of the birch forests that's back there. Beautiful maples. This is the trail back to the sinkholes. There's 13 sinkholes on this property. One of them is well over 100 feet deep. You get to the point where you can't see daylight. There's been a couple people that have gotten down in there. And where the water comes from, we don't know. Is it an underwater aquifer? You know, what is it? We don't know. There's the sinkhole. That's our favorite one. Dave, that's our favorite one.
Yeah.
And there's fish in it. In the spring, you go out there and the little bluegills have their little nest that they're guarding. And I hear deeper down as the water's cooler, there's bigger fish in there. But people have fished out of there in the past. Of course, we love shoeing and skiing at Besser Natural Area. Blue Island. That Hibernaculum project, that was an interesting thing that came up. There is a professor out of Eastern Michigan University that is really the bad guy. And he kind of travels around Michigan on his time off from teaching and surveys different the caves up in the Upper Peninsula. And he had heard that some of these there's nothing in lower Michigan where bats would naturally hibernate except in the house. But the tunnels at Rockport, there's Tippy Dam, which is across the state. I think there's one other place. Are places where bats in the lower peninsula are able to hibernate. The conditions are right. It's got to be above freezing. It's got to have a water source. And it's got to stay above freezing all year round. So, why do they hibernate? Anyway, this is part of our project. We got, with all these other people that are listed here, these are all people that participated in that project. He had gotten out there and he'd seen, a few bats there, not a lot, 17 or something like that. He said, you know what? He says, if we put a little bit of effort into this, he says, this could be a really great place for bats to hibernate. So his suggestion is to go over these tunnels, with some overburden, to give them some more insulation. The end was open, so we blocked that in. Those are the chutes on the inside, which it makes a really nice foothold for these little bats. blocked in under the concrete, brought in those barriers there. The high school fabricated, the welding club, 4-H welding club in the high school fabricated the metal gate there. Because you don't want predators in there, you don't want people roaming around in there. And you want it so the bats can get in and out easy. So we had to, the friends, Bill Grigg and Linda Ritter and I were crawling around in there, scooping this down so it would be a basic kind of swoop in and out. And it was kind of packed there because things had fallen through those chutes. So there was just a very little opening. So we got in there and moved all this rock out of there so they could get in and out. So then the snows came, it got cold, and Dr. Curta, who was on the right there, and his assistant Robin, who comes with him all the time, came up and did the survey in there again. And from 17 bats, we went to over 400 in one season. And there was some rare, very rare bats in there. There was a long-eared bat and an eastern pepstrel, which you just don't see very often. And now they are all rare. Because Rob Meese came up from Bat Conservancy, bat mosquitoes and stuff. You go out there hiking, you didn't see a mosquito out there. You know that, you've been out with them. But, I mean, they really did a great job of that. So there's a lot of bats that are naturally there. But before this got nice, then they'd have to pack off, and they'd either have to go down to Kentucky or whatever, or be up north. But since they found that this was, well, we can stay here, I mean, they found it, and they went, yeah, this is cool. So they jumped right in on that. So about a year ago, after about 3 years of work and trying to get this DNR, we got our Michigan Dark Sky Preserve status. Very much thanks to Peter Battaglia on this, because, you know, he was waiting on us, and he said, you let me know as soon as that hits the legislature, I'm going to jump on that and get that through for you. And he pretty much did. We kind of hit him at the tail end of this transportation bill he was working so hard on, but as soon as he got through that at the end of the year, I mean, within 3 months he had this done. And everybody that we ran into that day says, we've never seen a piece of legislation or bill go through that quick ever. You know, he says he really pushed that hard. So on 2/16/16, we got signed in. We are official. That is such a huge deal. Dark skies have become a real thing right now. As we've done different events, we've just seen people turning out in bigger and bigger numbers. We did Meteors and S'mores in August, and we had 500 people out there star watching. It was awesome. And it's come to be known for that. So anytime there's northern lights or a meteor shower, the people from town who can't see those things because of the light, jump in their cars, drive 15 minutes, 20 minutes, go up to Rockport, and they just got this beautiful view of the sky. So, real popular place to be at night. There's a lot of people out there, and it's magnificent. So we hold Meteors and S'mores is in August, and we pretty much always do that. Depends on the one year we did because it was like full moon that week, so we didn't do it that year. But usually we do something out there. Now International Dark Sky Week is April 22nd through the 28th. And if the weather permits, we're going to start out at Besser Museum. John Heath will do some programming in the new digital planetarium, which is awesome if you've not seen it. And then if the weather cooperates, he'll take a bunch out there, and you'll see the most clear skies in the winter if you go out there. And he will be out there to kind of He's fun because he shows you where all the constellations are, and if he takes his telescope, you can see whatever planets are in view at the time. You know, he sees Saturn and gosh, we had three. We had Saturn and Mars and Jupiter over the meteor showers last year. They were all out in view, so that was fun. So great place to go. That's the crew that got to be there, all our friends and our supervisors, and Peter, who we missed terribly. And Johnston House. So anyway, so we got a lot to do at Rockport. There's a lot of things we wanted to do to make that property just kind of more user-friendly and the recreation area that we intended it to be. The state does not have big piles of money to just dump into this. So one of the things the Friends group can do, we're a nonprofit, we can raise funds and pursue grants to maybe get some of these projects underway quicker, rather than standing in line between hundreds of other people, other parks that are waiting for stuff to be done that's been let go for a long time. So this is kind of our brainstorm that we had about what we can do to raise a significant amount of money in a short amount of time. So this past August, we held our first XTERRA Rockport Rugged. XTERRA is a worldwide extreme trail, off-trail racing venture. We got hooked up with them through 3 disciplines who Casey from Performance Locker originally contracted to put a race on, and he came out to check out the property, not been there before. And Mary Beth Stutzman and I took him out there, and this guy looked at this property and he just went, wow! And he says, XTERRA! And we're like, what? And he says, I gotta call these people. He says, they would love this property. He says, most places that run these more extreme races are not all that extreme. Everything has gotten so groomed and everything, there's just not much of a challenge to these trail races anymore. But he says, this place is out of this world. He says, this is crazy. So we hooked up with XTERRA and brought some people out there. And our first year, we had like 76 or something show up for this. And they did this, and they came off that just looking like somebody had hit them. They're just walking around, just stunned. And so we let them settle down a little bit, and he goes, well, what'd you think? Oh my gosh, that's the hardest thing I've ever run. He says, I've done Ironman, I've done this, and he says, this is the hardest race I've ever done. And I says, well, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Is he coming back? And he says, yes. And that was the sense that everybody was like, this is amazing. We're definitely coming back. So it'll be real curious to see what this year brings, because we've already got over $1,000 in registrations for this thing that's coming up in August. Last year we were able to raise a little over $6,000. So if we can double that this year, and this thing keeps growing like we think it could, this could be a really great fundraiser for us. So that's our hope with this. Yeah, and it was really interesting because this couple weekends ago, happened to stumble on it in Bat's network. They had the XTERRA Championships, and they were held in Australia in 2016. So they had this little half-hour documentary that kind of overviewed the race and stuff. They got nothing on us. that course was just, the only reason that course was even remotely tough is it was wet. That was it. I mean, they have nothing on us. I mean, the training we have out there, nah. So, one of the hopes that the group has too is that this could be a regional qualifier for XTERRA, which, I think, from what I'm seeing from these other races, I don't see why we couldn't be. But we already drew people from Wisconsin, Ohio, Virginia. You know, that's our first year. So, you know, we're hoping that this will really take off and be a big deal for us. Now, another exciting thing that's not on here is this past year Michigan State University, the students in the architecture landscape class made it their project to develop a plan for Rockport. So they came out and surveyed the property, and they went back to school and put together what they thought could be done at Rockport. As far as visitor center, restoring the pier, camping, trails, and they came out with some really great, exciting ideas. So I'm sitting there with all these kids and all the big shots in the DNR, and Ron Olson, who's the chief, was there, and you know, everybody that was anybody was there, and everybody's raving at the ideas these kids have come up with, and then the DNR gets the wet blankets out. And they're like, yeah, this is really great. The campground was awesome, and it was. Where they placed it and how they did it, they set it up where they had the fishermen could bring their boats in and park their boats where they camped, and they were first in the campground so they could pull out in the morning without disturbing everybody else. It was really well thought out. And then he says, well, this is really great, and sometime we hope to implement this, but we don't have any money. And I just looked at Barnes, you just wait. I said, we'll get you the money, you guys are gonna have to get off it and get this done, because, you know, they make me a little crazy. You can't tell, you know. So, but I'm thinking that if we can start raising some money and just show them, you know, the support. They don't understand Alpena, and they don't understand how Alpena gets behind these big projects, you know, that will benefit the people here.
Can you use the funds from the fundraising from XTERRA to apply to the master plan for the campground, or is that?
Sure, yeah. Anything we raise, and not only what we raise is we can apply for matching funding, because there is that program with DNR, with the Friends group, that if you raise X amount of dollars, they'll match it. And a few years ago back at Bay City, they did Splash Park, and they raised like $300,000 to put the first phase of this Splash Park in. And the following year, the DNR coughed up 300 and doubled it. So there is some opportunity there. You know, you don't have to wait 100 years to do something. So that's kind of where, you know, it's kind of where we're at with that. But we got some really, that just really got us going. We saw those kids' ideas though. I said, oh, we want to do that. So that's kind of where we're at. Any questions anybody has?
Yes. Yeah, that one picture of the schooner that you guys were snorkeling on,
Yes.
it looked pretty clean. Is there no zebra mussels or anything on that? It looked like it was just bare wood in the picture. Is it really that clean when you bought that?
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you can see the nails and everything. I mean, it's nice. I just get mesmerized out there. I just go up and back, get up and back. And it's kind of funny because the waves will shift you a little bit and then it's gone. And you gotta go looking for it again. But it, like he said, if you've never seen a shipwreck, that's the place to go. It's really something.
Very.
Yeah, you think about it. That was another pastime of the Bell villagers. If the ship would wreck, they'd all jump in their boats and get out there and see if they could scavenge off it. Because otherwise it's just going to get wet and lost anyway, so they would get what they could get off it. And I remember reading somewhere where some guy got a big load of corn and he got it to his animals all winter long.
I have to applaud you for all the work that you and your volunteers have done.
That's a lot of help. Bob Haltier was really a jumping off point for me. I'd mentioned Lynn Morrison, Judy Kimball, Jen Porter. And if it weren't for them, I wouldn't know half of this stuff. And Alpena Library, of course, for their fantastic collection.
You put together a really nice program.
Thank you. Yes?
When I was out to the dark area, I noticed a problem with the headlights on the cars. Is that being addressed in any way?
Well, the hope is that we keep the cars back over in that harbor parking lot. I think there's ways that we can address that, and it might be the way you park them in there so they're not facing this way. I'm not sure, it was worse. When we first started out, they were parking right in that parking lot at the picnic area, and then that was really bad. But,
That's probably when I was out there.
yeah, because once you move people off that way, you really don't notice it anymore. Now, we've taken, like hurricane lamps, kerosene lamps, and just kind of lit the way so people can find their way in and out. It's really nice. So, but yeah, if you were out there a few years ago, it's much better now.
Do you find those people are respectful of the area, as far as picking up and welcoming?
Yeah, we don't, it's surprising, we don't find a ton of garbage out there. We find a little bit, but I think there's enough people out there. Yeah. Keeping your eye on
With that, did they end up picking up all the
Out or all down.
turned it on?
Yes.
Do you have maps of the area for people that, like us, that haven't been there, that want to go and hike and, get lost and things like that?
Sure, no, not really. What this is, and this is on the DNR. We have the GPS coordinates for all the paths up there right now. But the DNR's got to look at this and decide, what's going to be for hiking, what's going to be for biking, what's going to be for horseback riding. And then they got to send it to this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy, and this guy to sign off on it. I don't know, Blake's really hoping this year that we'll finally have some maps. And that was one of the things from XTERRA too. I think that I kind of pushed that because okay, we've got these people that want to do these trails, but you don't have any maps. So I think that kind of jumped them a little bit. But Blake really hopes we can get trail maps by this year, but I don't know. But your
But
best.
you do have something on the DNR, or on the site, the website that shows certain spots and nothing?
Until they're designated officially, they can't publish it. So your best bet is, we've got a few hikes that we have coming up. Recreation Day is the third week in June, and we usually take a hike out then. Or get your group together again and get a hold of me, and we'll go out and we'll take a hike out there if you've not been out there.
Can you just go out on your own and walk around?
You can, and there's, if you knew where you were going somewhat, you could do it, because there's a sign here, there's a sign here, there's a sign here. But if you really don't have an idea of that property at all, you're probably gonna get lost out there, unfortunately. But like I said, if there's interest, and you wanna get a group of people together, I'd be happy to take you out.
Would a GPS work out there? I mean, that would help
Yes.
us.
Yes, if
You
you
could
knew
get
the
back to the
coordinates out
parking
there,
lot.
you could do it.
Is there any public access to Stoneport?
I don't think so. I think that's pretty much private, because that's a working,
Do tours.
yeah,
If you have a group, you'll.
yeah. I think your group got together and probably did.
we had a tour out there.
But as far as just dropping out there, I don't think so.
Festival, when the festival.
Yeah, they did open houses.
Yeah, they took you out there.
Yeah.
Buses and.
Yep,
Because you have to go in a group that's controlled.
yeah.
There's no holes in the fence.
I've not looked, but if you find something, let me know.
From South Albritton.
Is this presentation?
When you said in Australia, did somebody relocate, like
the end of our
either film it with
across
a,
their property.
We had to go out there, they did some, GoPro and drone, and I don't know that it turned out to a quality that they could.
I was thinking to market it, because I
Hey, Ron.
really wanted to market it.
See you later.
I don't know, for this year.
You wouldn't know how to do that. My brother